So in today's video I'm going to be talking on a topic that I've become more and more passionate over the last few years. So I'm going to ask the question, are you driving less? I certainly am driving the car less. I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video. But yeah, today's ride, I'm actually driving somewhere. It's something I haven't done a lot of over in the last few years. Yes, I'll go one-off big trips somewhere, but I won't do a lot of local rides by jumping in the car and driving somewhere. Well, many of you watching this channel are already riding bikes, or if you're not, thinking about riding bikes. So when it comes to travel, for those of you who already ride bikes, you're already up on other people, you learn to look after your health. You're probably not driving so much. Well, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my history when it comes to transport really. And before I do, I guess the vast majority of you watching this channel are already riding bikes. But how many of you can say you commute to work by bike? So biking to work, cycle commuting, is what got me really to sort of change my ways when it came to reducing my dependency on motorised transport. So going to work on a bike, cycle commuting, essentially what is in a nutshell getting from A to B. I live in a country where car is still seen as king. The alternatives to car travel have been pushed aside over the decades. However, we're living in an era now where the clock is turning backwards, and slowly but surely the country is coming around to the idea that you'd have to own a car to do everything in your life. Back in the noughties, this kind of talk, jumping on a bike, it wouldn't even come into my conscious really. I was busy doing other things, and during the noughties I did an awful lot of driving, lots of nighttime evening driving, because I used to be a DJ. That started out local scene, not a lot of driving, just a lot of carrying gear to and from venues. And then in the mid-noughties my life became dependent on the car really, as I started working for the bigger players, the chain pubs, the walkabouts, the Chicago Rocks, the Weatherspoons of this world, and that meant driving all over the country. So I live here in North Lincolnshire. I often find myself riding every weekend to Middlesbrough or the Northwest, Oldham, that area, week in, week out, months on end. And after a while, not getting younger as well, I had to do something about this. I don't know how it ignited in me really, but I think it was probably in 2007 where something clicked and I was like, I need to change up things. Why 2007? Well, it was at this point in my life I dropped all my well-established gigs in the UK and I was given the opportunity to work overseas, and I seized it. In the summer of that year I drove across Europe to the beautiful island of Corfu, one of those Greek islands in the Adriatic Sea, I think. And I was over there for about 3 or 4 months, DJing every night, and it was that point where I got back afterwards and I thought to myself, I'd love to go and do that again. I didn't seize the opportunity to go and do anything like that again. I kind of regretted it for a number of years. I thought that would have been a great direction to take my career, working overseas or on cruise ships or anything but working at home in Blighty and travelling hundreds of miles up and down the country every weekend. But alas, slipped back into working as I was really. Re-established my gigs for a few years, and then must have been about 2015, my then girlfriend Laura, she said to me, put on a bit of weight, can you give up smoking? She's always been a straight talker, she just says how it is. And at first I was like, that's not a nice thing to say. Of course, thinking about it, my cogs in my head was slowly turning over. Don't like change, like many people. And then she actually found my first bike on Facebook, the Trek, and went to look at it. Like, yeah, it's a bike, I'll have it. It was a good price. Don't know anything about bikes or anything like that. You know, I was like, encouraged, shall we say, to get a little bit more healthy. So subsequently stopped smoking. Tried it before many times, always come back to it. So over time I stopped smoking, started jumping on this bike. You know, cycling 1 or 2 miles, which seemed like very far at the time. And so, to cut a long story short, like many people cycle to work, they try it out one time. I tried it outside of work. I went on Friday evening, see if I could do it. Yes, I did. It was 10 miles each way, which was gigantic at the time, but I had a plan, because by that point I was no longer just DJing on the weekend. I'd got myself a full-time job in the week, close to home. And when I say close to home, 10 miles each way, that was seemed like an enormous distance at the time. But anyway, you know, I got my plans together, started doing that once, twice a week, and then eventually every day of the week, bar winter, when sometimes I'd jump back in the car. You know, I was fully into it. I was saving money, losing weight, just getting healthier and healthier. So that's, in a nutshell, is the background of how I started thinking about travel differently. As the years went by, I got into cycling more and more, as you do, longer distances. And in the last handful of years, after, you know, what's hit the headlines, started to change my approach, and that was cycling from the home, starting rides and things, going bikepacking, being more self-sufficient, not jumping in the car. Well, I've done that for a while, and you know, it's got cars on the driveway and paying for it and everything, and it's like, does it really hurt just every now and again just jump in the car and go, you know, start the ride from somewhere else? And to be honest, I seldom do this, so I've changed my life a bit. I've saved some petrol, done my bit for the environment, not so much crap being released out of my diesel car. However, right now in 2022, things are different to how there was in 2015, in that I don't have such a local job. It's 23 miles by bike. What I tend to do nowadays is I drive halfway and chuck the bike out of the boot, cycle the rest. Still makes me feel good, still keeps me healthy. I still know I'm doing my bit. But what still bugs me the most is inaction by the government, really, when it comes to active travel. Things are glacial, they really are, aren't they? But I believe we're heading in the right direction now. That's why I love talking about that kind of stuff. But this channel is kind of an escapism, really. So I do avoid the subject from time to time, because it's quite depressing, isn't it, really? And we've got all these amazing cycleways opening in London. I'm just waiting for the moment where somewhere in the north says, we're going to do that, and actually becomes a reality. I have actively been following, or I've been keenly following all the active travel news coming off the interwebs, and I'm pretty certain by 2030 we'll be in a much better place, at least in the national picture. Maybe not where you and I live, because I live in, as you can see if you've been looking over my shoulder, quite quiet rural part of the country. This is Lincolnshire, so these sort of places will be slow to get that kind of infrastructure, and to be honest, I want to be on a cycleway absolutely everywhere in the country. Yes, but it's not a priority. Get those cities done, get the towns done, get it so there's more people on bikes, so the dickhead drivers, you know, are aware of us and are behaving and being a bit more responsible. And I'm pretty sure there'll be a fair few cycling clubs and riders will be like, oh, we want to cycle on the road for time trials, and it's just it's our home. But to be honest, I'd rather have cycleways absolutely everywhere, just like in the Netherlands. Be safe, not having to watch your back 24/7. That's the price I'm prepared to pay. Who really wants to share this with cars? Oh, it's falling to pieces. And there's the sign to prove it. It's been this way for well over a year now. The other side of this hook bridge, potholes everywhere. Having to cycle the opposite carriageway is not acceptable unless you work for the Lincolnshire County Council. I mean, just look at this, right in the middle of the road. So that's my question back to you. Are you driving less? And that could be from 2020 onwards, or would you change your patterns of driving before then? Do you go out your way to encourage other people to ride a bike, whether it's for leisure or for transport? Do you eagerly await a utopia of cycle lanes across the world? Can you just imagine the benefits it would have to the planet as well itself? All those carbon emissions probably halved. Let me know down in the comments below what you think to the term active travel, and are you driving less? Let's talk about it, let's get involved. It's how things change. Let's talk about it. I hope you enjoyed this one. I look forward to reading your comments. See you later, bye bye.